Hey guys, welcome to another ReaperBlog tutorial. In this video, I'll show you the Spectropaint Synthesis plugin and the Spectropaint Filter. These are kind of experimental plugins, useful for sound design, useful for making interesting sounds at least, and they're kind of fun to play with. The Synthesis plugin generates frequencies based on whatever you draw in. So if I draw in a happy face, it will generate sound based on that. We have to put it into play. So it generates a sound. I'm going to close this one for now. And it actually draws it in the spectrum. So exactly what you draw in will come through on the spectrograph. Let's go through some of the controls here. So there are triggers here. 0 will clear this drawing. 8 and 9 will change the brush size. So right now it's on a brush size of 3. It goes up to 32. And the longer you hold down, the more intense the amplitude of that sound is going to be, or that frequency range. And you can see that on the spectrogram, the white areas here now become red here, higher intensity. Next control is period in seconds. So this project is at 120 beats per minute, makes the math pretty easy. A 4-bar loop is 8 seconds long. We can change this to 2, and then that's a 1-bar loop. Amplitude is the volume of the output of this. It's set to attenuate by -40. That's a good starting point. I tend to go for about -6 on the meter here, and then it's 60 B of headroom for any processing that I plan on doing. FFT size is not something I'm going to even attempt to explain. It goes over my head, and I don't think it's necessary to know this to actually use the plugin. It's not a nice sounding plugin. It kind of generates things that are weird sounding. So the lower quality ones are here, and to me, they sound better. I'm going to go through some of the presets later, and you can kind of hear what those things do. Project sync offset -1 to disable. This syncs the plugin to the sequencer. If you set it to -1, it's going to just continually go by itself. And you can offset the starting position of the loops here. And then mode is sine or fill, and we can see the difference here in the spectrum analyzer. Let's draw in something a little more full spectrum and maybe turn down the volume a bit. That's in fill mode. In sine mode, it's like this. All right, and let's go through some of the different FFT sizes. I don't really like any of the ones above 1024. Let's go back to 256 and fill mode. 512. 1024. 2048. And those are hard to listen to, especially on headphones. That clicking is pretty irritating. Okay, so that's kind of the gist of what you do with it. Left click to draw, hold it down to increase the amplitude of that area. You can right click to erase. So let's go through some of the presets I've made. I've made 11 presets for this. First one is X. So this is a 16-second long loop. Let's go to the next one. This one's called Computing. Bullseye. And my drawings are very crude. That's kind of the point of this thing. I think if you're trying to be too careful with it, it's not going to work. You need something that's a little better than this, but I mean, it's kind of fun. I make something, I'll record the output, run it through some effects, and it sounds cool. I mean, it's kind of like a novelty thing. Like you draw something and it comes up in the spectrum. You can hide this in songs. You see that all the time, especially recently because the Doom soundtrack had this kind of stuff. It had 666 and pentagrams and stuff hidden inside. So I put in a couple of effects here that I think that improves the sound of these a little bit anyways. Just kind of gives you an idea of how it could actually be used rather than the raw source. All right, let's move on to the Spectropaint filter. It's very similar to that. You just draw in. A lot of the controls are the same. The difference here is background gain, basically the dry sound, so letting through the original sound that you're processing. Foreground gain is the output of the plugin. Again, there's FFT size, the offset, and there's the fill mode. So if we take this sound here, got nothing until we draw something in. So again, let's go through some of these presets. Corrupted data. So unlike the Spectropaint synthesis, this one really depends on the sound sources you're putting into it, rather than the effects you put after the synth. Playing some of these with a drum loop is totally different from playing with the synth. So here's another thing. So I wanted to share these presets with you guys. There will be details in the blog post of how to get these. These plugins are a lot of fun to play with. They make weird sounds that you can't really get in other ways easily. Not the best sounding things, but they're interesting and again, they're fun. So I'd like you guys to try out my presets, my starting points, and build your own and share your presets with me. That'd be really cool. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks a lot for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and visit reaperblog.net for a lot more.